Yep, we're rolling. We're
All
live.
right, we are live, man. I'm excited. Thank you for taking some time to chat with me and us about this event, Ricky.
Yeah,
Dude, how's your week been going?
fantastic. Actually, I got back from Texas Tuesday. I went to Houston and did a big event there. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And I went through Dallas and got back Tuesday. I've been slammed ever since. So that's how I like it.
hell yeah. Are you doing a lot more speaking gigs as of recent?
Yeah, I've done one every week since probably like 5 weeks ago.
Wow,
Uh,
that's awesome.
yeah, I'll be in Fort Lauderdale next week, and then Vegas the week after, and then Atlanta the week before I come to Vancouver.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. So what are you? I mean, that's a good thing to trail off on with all this speaking. Like, what the heck has your soul been on fire to share? And I mean, I've obviously followed you for a long time, and so um, I know relationships over transactions. You're like the first person that really helped me in my business and just pathway of thinking that way. Because I was very transactional as a young dude starting in real estate.
We all
Um,
are. We all are.
yeah,
We all start out like that. I started out like that. And but it's literally like having that mentality is literally what led me to my demise,
yeah,
because when you operate on just trying to close deals and the market crashes, you're done.
yeah,
Like without having that, army of,
hmm
clients who love you to the ends of the earth. When the market crashes, you don't really have anything to fall back on.
yeah. Well,
That was
so
the whole thing, man. Was when I came back, I was like, I'm never going to lose everything again,
right,
And how do I build a business that, you know, doesn't matter what the market does? And the only way you can build a business like that, in my opinion, is to build a relationship, build business where you're building these lifelong friends with your clients and they use you forever. Because when the market crashes, it's not like people quit doing deals,
right,
but there's a lot less deals and you
totally.
need a lot of people that know who you are going into those moments. So
Yeah, to carry the momentum. So for just to back up real quick for the people who don't know who Ricky is, at least in our network, and I don't think it's a lot of people, but for those people there, like, what was that? Just a quick 30-second synopsis of your story, what the way you built your business before, and then what brought you to changing it on round two when you came back
no,
into
I
the.
got in real estate in 2002. I was 20. I made a lot of money really fast,
Yeah,
and I thought that's how real estate was done. And I started flipping houses, like everything crashed and burned. And there were people that were 40, 50, 60-year olds going through the same exact thing right next to
yeah,
me.
right.
And I was like, thank you, Jesus, because I'm in my mid-20s learning the same life lessons as people in their 50s,
Yeah,
60s,
right.
and even 70s, really. Um, so yeah, man, I lost everything. I was sleeping in my car. I was sleeping on people's couches, eating out of people's refrigerators.
Mhm.
Went back to roofing houses, which is what I did growing up with my dad. My dad owned a roofing business. My mom had a hair salon, and I was serving tables. I even got a job on an oil rig for a while.
Wow.
At the time, like I didn't care,
Yeah.
like I was
Yes.
in my mid-20s. I was in shape. I'm still in shape, but like I
Mhm.
wouldn't go jump on a roof at this point. 42 now, but my dad was 45 and he was still crushing it on the roof. Like he was running the crews and I remember he
That's
was
awesome.
45 and he was still out roofing everybody on the job. It was wild. Um, then there was that one day where I beat him to the top of the house, like up this little run, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Oh no, like little Ricky got his dad." But yeah, and then that was in 2005, like when everything, like people think 2008 was the crash. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like that's when the stock market crashed. Like real estate prices started coming down in '05, and I
Mm.
didn't sell anything between February '05 and May of 2008.
What was
I
the
was
best
just
what was the best sales year you had in that first run when you were transactional? Like, what was that
I think I made
feeling?
like 2 to 300,000.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I made the rest of that money. So I made that for like 2, 3 years, and then I flipped a bunch of houses,
Yeah.
and I made well over $1 million, and I had about $1.5 million worth of debt
Yeah.
whenever the market shifted.
Wow.
But yeah, I learned what not to do when it comes to flipping houses for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came back in 2008. I was laid off from the oil rig, and I was like, all right, let's go. Like, let me back in the game. And through that I learned, deals happen every day no matter what. Like if you go back through anything, closings are happening every single day.
Yep.
2008 dot-com crash, 9/11 pandemic, even now, like we're last year was like 2008 levels, like it's lower now
Yep.
so far
Yeah.
this year.
Is it really? So nationwide, I wasn't privy to that. So the
It's pretty
Q1 of this
close.
year has been okay.
Like it's pretty close with last year in terms of like
Wow.
deals and stuff. So like the opportunity is still here. A lot of agents, they look back at 2008 and say, man, that was a great time to get in. But at the time, everybody's like, this is the scariest time to get in. Same thing now. People are looking at now saying like, now's not a good time to get in, but you're going to look back 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to say 2023, 2024 was the best time to get in and expand your influence in the market. When markets are down, that is the best time to expand your influence in the market. Period. End of story. Because number one, a lot of agents aren't doing it, so there's so much market share on the table. Number two, you've got time to do it because you're not busy closing a million deals. And so like we're going to have a year in the next decade where we hit 7 million existing home sales. We did in 2005. People don't realize that 2021 was 6 million. Everybody thinks that was the record. It's not. 2005 was the record. And we have the demographic of people that want to own homes over the next decade is insane. Like it's off the charts, and all the trade up sellers who are sitting there who want a different home, but are locked in.
Nice and tense. It's all pent up.
It's gonna, dude, it's gonna erupt, man. And I don't know if that's year 3, year 5, 7, or 8, but we're gonna have a year where it's like boom, and everybody's gonna wish to God they were in real estate now, building that influence.
Yeah, the work we're putting in, this has kind of been our mantra too. Like, you're not seeing the results as quickly necessarily. You don't know when the results, when the momentum is going to start carrying you, but the work we're putting in right now is earning that paycheck that's going to come, and it's going to be wild. My dad always says to me, there will be a day that I come to you in the near future, or I ask you, and you're holding that paycheck, and I'm going to ask you, did you earn that this week? And the answer is no. Like, we earned it because we fought through the storm and the season and kept going. And this is something that I've personally always I want to say struggled with, but it's been the hang up in the temptation of leaning towards or leaning back into or falling into the trap of becoming transactional again. And I think it typically happens in a moment of desperation. So let's say there's a realtor, and I'm sure many of them in this kind of circumstance have asked you this similar question. But if there's a realtor who hasn't spent the last 3 or 4 years building up and preparing and doing the right thing and came into the season with the relationships, they're here now. They're doing the right things now. They're following your lead on prioritizing, deploying goodwill, and not just chasing the next shiny dollar, right? For those people, like, if they're at the end of their rope right now, they don't have a ton of reserves left to continue surviving. Like, what do you say to them? Because really, like, it's kind of still playing the long game, right?
Well, I mean, number one, how long? What was your idea of how long you wanted to do this business for? Have you been in the business 2 years? And when you got in, were you thinking this was going to be your career for 20, 30 years? If so, then I mean, like, you're just in the very beginning stages. Even if it takes you 2, 3, 4, 5 years to really understand what's going on and be able to really crush it, you've given yourself 15 to 20 more years to like absolutely dominate. So much can be done, over the course of a couple years, 10 years, 20 years. There's it like whatever's happening right now that you're going through, and your reserves are getting low or whatever, that's incredibly temporary. Like, in your mind, if you're going to go dominate, if you're going to be the one that's going to go out and really crush it and become one of the top agents in the market, that in the back of your head, that you're never going to give up and you're going to do this until you succeed or not. That's the way you have to be. Some people, they know in the back of their head that they aren't. going to be the person that's willing to put in the work and go out there and do the things they need to do. They're not
Sure.
coachable. They're not trying to learn. They're not trying to grow. They're not reading. They're not, studying. They're not making their calls. They're not doing their email. They're not doing the things they need to do. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
They're just sitting around waiting on things to happen or thinking something's magically going to just come along, but the people that are quietly in the background, behind a closed door somewhere, grinding their face off, calling property owners, doing coaching calls, learning new skills, learning how to communicate with people, making them feel comfortable with you. That's the number one skill, honestly, like confidence, and then making people feel comfortable with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't have confidence and you can't talk to somebody and make them feel comfortable with you, then you're dead right there in the water. If you do those two things, but you don't talk to enough people, you're dead in the water, right? If you do all three of those things, but you don't stay in touch with them, you're dead in the water. Like, you got to have the full package,
Right.
And I think that's the problem is people are focused on the wrong skills. They're focused on how to close a listing. And it's like the skill they should be focusing on is how do I make people feel comfortable with me within a matter of seconds of talking to them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need to increase my people skills, my communication skills to the level that people just naturally, organically want to do business with me. If you don't have that, then you can win some business here and there, but you're never going to exponentially grow. And these are skills you can learn.
Yeah.
Like, there's a million books on how to communicate with people. Right.
Yeah.
And if you're not picking up one of those books and trying to become a better version of yourself, you're just kind of like stuck in this. Oh, I'm doing what this person says to like handle this objection and close this deal. You're just never going to get where you want to be. So, I mean, you got to realize, like, number one, like, what do I actually need to learn to get where I want to be? Am I focused on the right things or the wrong things?
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people are focused on the wrong things.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the first problem. But the second thing is like, everybody has bills. So if your reserves are low and you got bills coming in, well, guess what? You got to go get a job to pay your bills and do real estate on the side until you can pay your bills with real estate. I mean, that's simple math.
Right.
And I had to do that. I mean, I roofed houses while I was a new agent trying to get into real estate. It took me 8 months to get to my first deal. Right. And then when the market crashed, I had to get out of real estate. Why? Because I had to, well, honestly, I didn't have bills. Like, I literally had no bills. I didn't have a car note, insurance. The only two bills I kept was my cell phone and my real estate license. That's the only thing that I actually paid for. I didn't pay for utilities, rent, car payment, insurance, well, food. I bought food, my cell phone that I never gave up, and my real estate license. But like, how was I going to pay for all that? Right. Like, food, cell phone. I mean, that's money. And I was going negative as an agent at the time. So what did I do? I went out and got a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So
don't be so prideful that you can't like go get a job and like work. Like, who cares?
Right. Right. And that job isn't, even if it feels out of alignment, you don't want to be there. That's not, whatever. Right. Like, it's allowing your runway to get longer so you can survive and keep your license and get on the other side of this. So it is working towards, it's still in alignment with your goals if you are planning on doing it for 15, 20 years.
Bro.
Yeah.
Like, the plan doesn't change. You got a job to survive long enough to keep your license so that you could crush it in real estate. Like, the goal at the end of the tunnel, the overall big picture didn't change at all. Right. You're always going to have to adjust your short term. Like, you're always going to have to adjust your game plan, in the now, to make adjustments. I mean, it's like what we heard about today, with NAR, like, this is coming, and, the whole industry is going to get shook. You just have to adjust your game plan.
Yeah. What are you doing? What are you telling agents to do to prepare for that? Because we're in Washington State and we've been on the forefront of it for a while in preparation with forms changes and whatnot. That being said, I still think that, everybody's holding their breath a little bit.
Well, it's going to be different, right? The way you guys do it is going to change with the rest of the country. And the way you guys do it now, I don't believe, just from the agents I've talked to there, it's not like a full like disclosure. Hey, you don't have to pay the buyer agent commission. right? It's really like the rules there that they don't have to offer a commission, but it's not really disclosed to the fullest to the seller where they're like, okay, I can make a decision here. So yeah, I mean, it's really a not even close, right? What they're going to do is they're going to remove the buyer agent commission from being even in MLS. Like you're not even, it's not even going to be offered in MLS unless it's through other remarks and the seller's willing to pay like some closing costs or something.
Mm,
So, I mean, bro, like my strategies, what I do, I've always said, don't buy leads, don't do the buyer lead route, you
mm,
know, focus on property owners who buy and sell. All my strategies, you know, and it's not just listings, it's property owner based, you know,
yeah,
like, you know, build your brand with property owners who buy and sell properties.
right.
Um, I'm not doing anything different. I'm actually leaning in and continuing to help agents, you know, build a brand with property owners, have a listing, a more listing heavy business because of that. You
Hmm.
know, the rules of the game for me don't change at all.
Yeah,
I think you're going to have buyers who can't afford or don't want to pay their agent come straight to the listing agent. So now you've got a bunch of buyers who don't want to pay commissions coming to you that you didn't have before. I think that that's going to be a shift for listing agents.
yeah,
But again, like that's just we'll just have to kind of play it how it comes. But I think it's exciting.
yeah. Well, and it's exciting for those who are willing to adapt and who are paying attention, you know, because they're going to be the ones to take advantage while other people are caught off guard.
Yeah, yeah, and
Just
I
like
think
anything.
that's probably like 20% of the agents, right? The 80-20-20 rule, right?
Yeah,
And the 80% that aren't adapting, they're not selling anything anyway, correct? I mean, 50% of agents sold like one house or less or something like that last year.
wow.
So, you know, those agents, you know, they're not they're not even adapting to like what the market is currently. They're
Hmm.
certainly not going to adapt to what it's turning into. And so, but the ones that are closing deals are doing well, and I think they will adapt. I
Absolutely.
just I don't I think I think you see the commission pool drop. I do think you see less commissions out of this. I think buyer agent commission is going to get crushed. I think
Yeah.
listing agent commission is going to get a little bit crushed, not as much as buyer agent commission. So I think we'll see like a less of a commission pull, but outside of that, I don't see like the way we do things and disclose and ask buyers to pay their own commission or negotiate it into the purchase agreement and all that. Yeah, that's going to change,
Hmm.
but I mean, I just don't see much changing. Like we're like our job is to help people buy and sell real estate, connect buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
You know, the whole premise of what we do is not going to change. You know,
Right.
may the way we get paid, may the way we operate, may the way we disclose change. It is going to change,
Yeah.
but we're still going to be here connecting buyers and sellers.
And you know what? We've all gotten such a healthy raise through the recent the recent surge since COVID and home values and stuff too. Anyway, so it's like if there's less
Well, everyone
agents,
needs to
there's
be
less
it needs to get a
commission.
raise. I mean, the way that
Yeah.
inflation has, you know, went up, not just recently, but over the last 5-10 years, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, like everyone, you know, the you know, wages increase. I mean, that's normal for any industry.
Yeah. Totally.
Mhm.
So if we went back to your first year back in the business, you jump in, you still have another job, right? A different job you're kind of making ends meet with. You get your license again. Like what was that year like for you in terms of like was there any struggle on your end of continuing to approach it from a relationship based approach while
The
also
first,
going like
my first year in the business?
back in the business when you came back in? So I'm doing this differently
Yeah.
this time.
Oh,
Like,
I crushed it that first year coming back. I
did
made
you?
80K, which was
Okay.
twice what I made on the oil rig the year before. And I was just like, I mean, I was extremely thrilled because honestly, like the plan was to always come back into real estate and crush it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, I got hit so hard. It's like I didn't know if that would actually become a reality or not. So for that to actually happen was was monumental. I mean, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made 80K in 2008 just selling foreclosures to buyers. So it you
Okay.
know, find buyers, and I would advertise the foreclosures, you know, Gulfront condos, half the price they were, beautiful
Mhm.
white sandy, you know, the beach is just as beautiful. The condos are half the price.
Yeah.
The sun is just as bright. The condos are half the price. And I would meet these people that were interested, and I would just treat them like family. The
Mhm.
conversations were so different because I wasn't trying to pressure them. I wasn't thinking about, oh, I hope they close this deal. I didn't care if they did a deal or not. I knew that they were, most of them, and I
Yeah.
knew the ones that didn't would do a deal with me later. I was thinking more long term with everything.
Right.
You know, I was thinking like, okay, if they don't do a deal later, I want to secure this person as a lifelong friend to where if they ever do business, they'll call me.
Yeah.
You know, and if they do business now, great. If they do business later, great. Doesn't matter because I know I'm going to keep pushing and talking to more people. I mean, the name of the game, bro, is talking to people. Like when you realize conversation is the key to all closings, then
Mhm.
it just becomes a race of how many conversations you can have. The problem is these agents who, you know, spend $500 a month and get like 4 leads a month from some source. It's like I'm talking to, 30, 40 people a week.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm doing as much as you do in a year in a week because it all comes down to how many conversations I'm having with people about buying and selling real estate. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a end of
Numbers
story.
game. Numbers
Period.
game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can trickle those conversations over the course of your career, or you can just let's have as many conversations as we can right now
Upload
with
that thing.
prospects.
Yeah. Well, dude, and one of the coolest things that I've realized is when I started to think less on the transactional aspect and really detach from the outcome, like, you know what, I want to take care of this person and we'll see where the reciprocity lies. We'll see how long it takes to, like, it's detached. And when I started operating that way, I feel like my confidence went through the roof, and people,
Yeah.
when they realized that I wasn't there to close anything and that I could
Yeah.
care less if they buy right now or don't, it almost the reverse psychology, like you're saying, like you made 80 grand and you were closing deals even though you weren't pushing people to close. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's something
That
you
I
know,
think once you realize that they're going to close a deal with or without you,
yeah,
and they're going to close a deal when they want to close a deal.
right.
And I think when you realize that like closings are happening every day, if you're talking to the amount of people should be talking to, you're going to run into these people that are closing deals today. Most of them will close deals later, which means you're going to have a massive business later based on what you're doing now, and you're
Yeah,
still going to close tons of deals now.
right.
When you get that concept down, that philosophy, you know, it's kind of like gravity. What goes up must come down. Like it's a law,
Yeah.
right? You talk to enough people, you're going to find people that want to close deals now. It's simple math. But you know, when you get them to open up to you, see that's the part about making them feel comfortable, right? Making them feel comfortable. You have to be comfortable with them. They have to know you're going to invest time in them, and they have to know
Mhm.
that you're going to save them time.
Yeah.
If you don't have those three things, where you know saving time means not talking a whole lot,
Right.
right? Not keeping them on the phone for 30 minutes, not accomplishing anything,
Hmm.
right? They want sweet, quick, to the point, short, conversations that still kind of have a little small talk and a little bit of get to know me in there, right? You become a master at condensing these conversations into a really short period of time that still accomplishes the same as a lot of
Yeah.
these people that talk for 30, 40 minutes. You
Hmm.
accomplish the same thing somebody does in 30, 40 minutes within a 5-minute conversation. They really like that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so
Absolutely.
that's where saving time comes from. Investing time means, hey, I'm calling you, or I'm texting you, or I'm creating this great email, or I'm going and spending some time with you at lunch or dinner or showing you property. I'm investing time in you, making them feel comfortable. I mean, when you're comfortable with them, they get this sense of like, calmness.
Hmm.
They feel that in you. It makes them feel calm. They're
Right.
just like, okay. And then that comes from exactly what you just said, having the right intentions. Like when you really have zero expectations of what they're going to do for you, then it like releases all this tension,
Yeah.
and you're able to actually relax and get down to what it is that they actually want. And that's the whole key to it. It's like, what do you want to do? Great. Here's what I'm going to do to help you do that.
Hmm. Well, and not only that, but like on the phones, man. Like, I mean, I think most people's hesitation to cold call, and frankly, mine too, for a long time was that I felt salesy, you know, I was approaching it with the scripts that we were given, and but I wasn't coming from a place of what in the world can I do for you? Right. And as soon as I started doing that, it's like, this doesn't even feel like cold calls. I think you said something the other day at one of the lives you were in here locally, that you're really like a nonprofit trying to serve people, and you're reaching out to them to see what you can do to help. And so where's the pressure there?
Yeah.
And that's the psychology still so many people are missing.
Yeah. Think of yourself as a volunteer worker doing community outreach, you know, to see what it is you could do to help people in the community. Like, this is your job, is helping people in the community buy and sell real estate. If you're not calling people in the community to see what you're going to do to help them buy and sell real estate, then you're not doing your job.
I love that. So you
know, it doesn't matter to me. Like, if you want to go out and use social media to try to attract these conversations, go for it. If you want to buy Zillow leads, like, you could do it any way you want to do it. Yeah. My thing is are you talking to people in the market about buying and selling, right? And are you doing that at scale? Like, are you talking to enough people to build a massive business? And most people aren't.
How many conversations or contacts do you think is that number for most people per day, per week?
Dude, even if you just had 5 great conversations a day, right? Let's say you talk to 10 people and 5 are great conversations. That would do it if you did it every day.
Consistency, repetition.
Right. If you did it every single day. If you had 2 great conversations every day, 2 great conversations, you build a massive business. Massive. I mean, that's 10 in a week. That's 40 in a month. That's about 500 in a year, 500 great conversations a year.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's 2 a day, 250 working days a year. Will that work? Yeah, that'll work. Right. That will build a massive business right there. Right. You know, but hardly anybody. Like, I had a guy, he got his first listing after 13,000 dials.
No way.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And that he was a brand new agent. That was his first 6 months. He did 13,000 in his first 6 months. He got his first listing. He's been in the business 4 years now. He's sold 50 million so far.
Wow.
In his career. Another guy made 3,600 dials. He sold 20 properties within his first 3,600 dials. You know, so the results vary so much person to person.
Sure.
You know, everybody's path is different. That's why you can't compare yourself to other people. You know, you've got to compare yourself to you, right? Yeah. And that's what I said in the beginning. Like, you know, if you have that, I'm never going to quit until I get there attitude. Only you know that. I mean, you can tell me, oh, I'm gonna crush it. I'm never gonna, you know, I'm this and I'm that or whatever. I'm like, okay, like, only you know that or not.
Right.
I don't know if you're gonna do what you say you're gonna do. You know, I won't know until you do it. You're the only one that knows if you're actually going to stand up for your word here. And you know, if you're not going to stand up for your word. I knew back in the day when I got in real estate that I was going to be one of the best.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know I was going to make a meal, lose it, go homeless, come back. Like, I didn't know how it was all going to transpire, what my story was going to be, but I knew I was going to eventually get to the top.
Well, and that's inevitable if you know you're never going to quit. And I think that's the temptation of quitting, right? When we're in a season like right now, like on the back and in the thick of the results not being as easy as they once were for most people. But yeah, so if someone is looking, like, if they think in their heart, like, man, I don't know if I'm going to do this forever, do you encourage them to quit, to give up now? Like, what would your advice be?
Everybody's different. This business is not for everybody, bro.
Yeah.
You know, if there's this doubt in their soul that this isn't for them, then chances are it's not. 90% of agents fail. You know, like you have to be 110% committed that this is for you to even barely make it. Like, you know, you got to be in the top 10% to make it through those first couple years, you know, top 10%. To be in the top 10%, if you even have an inkling of doubt in your mind, you're not going to be in the top 10%.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so
that's a good point.
I can only say, look, this is how easy it is. This is how easy it is right here. It's real simple, but I can't make the calls for them. I can't make the videos for them. I can't be consistent for them. They have to want that part.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and if they don't want it, see, the problem is they haven't got fed up with their current situation of life enough to make any big changes.
The pain of action or the pain of failure hasn't surpassed the pain of taking action.
Yeah, evidently, like whatever their life is right now,
it's comfortable.
They're good with it. It may not be as comfortable as they want, but it's not to the point where they're like, I don't care what it is, I'm changing this. Until they get to the point where they're like, I don't care what I have to do, I'm not living like this anymore. Then they're gonna keep living like they're living.
Yeah. All right, man. So out of respect for your time, I got a couple more questions if you're cool with that. One is just something I've always wondered, because you know, I know your approach and how you've led with value to property owners, and I can imagine that part of that and being patient with that, it has been the philosophy and understanding that the reciprocity will return in your direction, that you're building a business, there's going to be an ROI of these actions. Whatever, this is just something that I've always wondered. What got you into helping agents at the same way, like giving value for free, so much value, helping people? Like, did you ever have aspirations to be as followed as you are on platforms, or were you genuinely just wanting to help?
Well, I wanted to build a business around helping agents get through what I went through. Right when I lost everything, came back, and then I realized all this amazing stuff. Like, wow, like if I'd have known this before 2005, I wouldn't have lost everything.
Yeah,
you know, and I would have crushed it. I mean, I wouldn't taken it back because I didn't learn what I learned. If I wouldn't have lost everything, I wouldn't have I wouldn't change anything if I could go back. But I still wanted to like spread this amazing knowledge to as many agents as I possibly could. And so the original thought was, okay, like real estate, once you climb that mountain and you're making $1 million a year, you realize, wow, I mean, when January 1 clicks, your yearly income goes from 1 million to 0. And now you got to climb this mountain again to make $1 million. And it's daunting. And to know how hard you worked that year to get there, all the properties you showed, all the listing appointments you went on, all the closings, all the lost deals, all the mad clients, happy clients, like the emotional roller coasters, the spur of the moment things you had to leave your family to go do. You start to realize this is cool. I'm making a lot of money, but this is nothing I want to do the rest of my life. Right. And so that was the motivation is, okay, let me take what I learned. Let me write a book and let me share this knowledge with other people and let me build another business. And let me just see how far I can take that. And now, like, I haven't sold a house in 2 years. I stepped out of production 2 years ago. I make way more money now than I was when I was selling, and I'm continuing to grow and scale, you know, these other businesses. So it was a good move for me. And, you know, it was a 2-part. I wanted to do something to help reduce the failure rate in the industry, help agents that might be going through the same thing I went through back then, and also build a business, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it makes sense. Well, cool. So last thing, just to the people here in our region who should be coming to this event, I think we've sold about 400 tickets already. We got a month to go. You know, so we'll see where we end up. But I've had a few conversations recently with people who have said things that have made me laugh a little bit, saying, you know, nah, I don't like events and stuff, and I already got what I need to know to succeed this year. I don't need anything more. Our event's $150 without a discount code, and there's nothing like that here locally. Like, what would you say to the agents who are definitely like, I'm not coming to this event. You know, events aren't for me. Like, how does that make you feel?
I mean, that's on them, bro. You know what I mean? That just tells me they're not open to growing at all, right? Whenever somebody here's the thing. To master something means that you can do it second nature.
Yeah.
Right. You do it without even thinking. And, you know, what happens is we get in the business and we start to find a little success. and we think we're a master,
Sure.
right? But and we might be of that thing in front of us, but there's always a new level.
Right.
There's always a new level. And you may be thinking that like you're on the right path, you're on the right level, but like one little idea. That's like when you read a book. Like I read a book the other day and I was like, okay, I've heard all this before, whatever. I read the whole thing on a flight. And about, I don't know, 60% through the book, like there's this one little thing in there. So here I am, I've spent about, I don't know, an hour and a half up to that point.
Yeah.
An hour and a half or so up to that point, really kind of like reading stuff that's like, yeah, I've already heard all this before. And then
Sure.
all of a sudden, boom, there's this idea in this book that literally changed my entire situation. Right. It was just a silly little book.
Mm-hmm.
And like most people are like, oh, like these guys, like, oh, I don't do events and I don't need books. I'm crushing it. I'm whatever. If you're not doing everything you can to become that next best version of yourself, if you stop learning, the problem is most people they're always the teacher, never the student. Right. They need to be, they're always the teacher, sometimes the student. They need to be always the student, sometimes the teacher.
God, I love that.
Right.
We need to put that.
they need to, you like the people, like your coaches and people that you're learning from and mentors, like if they're not continuing to push themselves to go to events and to read books and to learn new things, how do you expect them to teach you new things?
Yeah.
So these people that don't want to go to these this amazing event, like this kind of event doesn't happen around there, very often. So like for people not to go to an event like this and get around the other professionals in the room, it's not just about the information on stage. Think about all the other professionals that are in your market that are in the room that you can collaborate with, all the possible off-market deal opportunities you can run into, future business partners, investment opportunities, all kinds of stuff. And then you've got the information on stage, the stuff that, yeah, there may be a lot of the stuff that you heard before, but you walk away and you heard one person say this one thing that just changes your entire life. That's what happens. Every event I go to, there's like this one thing that somebody says that just changes. And it could be from a speaker that I know personally. I've heard everything that they've said before, right? Everything they're saying on stage, I've heard it before, but then they say something a little different, a new thing. Maybe they heard it recently in a book or a podcast and twisted it into their own little thing. And now all of a sudden it changed my life. Right. So yeah, I mean,
and that's so true.
I
was just gonna
I
say,
get it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I get it, like not wanting to go to events and stuff, because that's how I was.
Yep. Same.
But like I wish I would have, because I would have gotten there way faster if I would have gotten exposed to some new ideas along the way.
Yeah.
I got there and I was successful and everything else, but I could have been way more efficient. I could have, done things a lot differently.
A little less bumps and bruises along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and sometimes like it's not even, so I feel like sometimes I've heard the same thing before, but I wasn't in the right position in my life to hear it, to truly resonate. And it's like, I've heard this before. This isn't a mind-blowing thing that this person just said. And yet it hit me different today because of the position I'm in now. I'm ready to hear it finally.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, man, I appreciate your time, and I just appreciate your giving heart. Like to us, you've been such a blessing to us with throwing this event, man. And I'm in your Zero to Diamond coaching group, and I see so many stories every single day of people sharing their success by taking action on the stuff in the playbook you've graciously gifted them. And also just incredible stories, man, of people's lives that have changed because of the value you've brought them. So I hope you are proud. I know you are, but man, you deserve your flowers, bro. Like you've been an amazing beacon of light, especially during this season to our industry. So appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You too, man. See you soon.